So basically, like, the more you can like smooth things out, the more you can introduce interaction, the more that you can like avoid creating clear links between a particular person and being able to make outcomes happy that give a particular person money, the better, right? And I think, like, you can also reinterpret a lot of existing like non-DAO governance ideas the same way. Like, if you think about the concept of rule of law, right? Basically, yeah, what is rule of law not? Rule of law is not the king saying, like, hey, your company has been pro-social, here's $20 million. I think your company has been being anti-social, I'm gonna fine you $20 million today, and like, you keep going for every company, right? Rule of law basically says, well, step one, you create like a bunch of rules, and then and those rules are intended to be neutral, and they're intended, if the thing works, to not overfit the specific companies. And then separately, step two, you have a different process that decides, well, like, which companies actually have been complying with the law, right? And so by doing that, you avoid creating like one point of decision making that basically says, like, hey, I really don't like you. Your brother like beat me at chess last night, and I'm really upset over it, so I'm gonna fine him $20 million, right? So interaction good, right? Basically, and I think like these kinds of things we can like essentially we can really be much more imaginative about like different principles of governance and different building blocks that we've interacted with and used for a very long time, right? And like our goal should be to combine them with some of these like newer digital technologies to try to create like the best possible designs, right? And like I think ZK and AI like both have to be center stage, because ZK provides privacy, and you need privacy to prevent capture and to prevent dominance of social games. And also, you need AI because like the biggest problem is just inefficiency, right? And if you can solve inefficiency, then you can make a lot of things better, right? So I think so finally, the takeaway, right? And also a big important thing is comms, right? Governance is 20% formal decision making, 80% communication. In comms itself, it needs to facilitate alignment around the mission, filter out noise, and also avoid facilitating capture, right? And like Twitter is not good for this. So governance should happen in platforms other than Twitter. So how do we get there, right? I think step one, like burn down the legitimacy of the existing paradigm, right? So nobody getting fired for forking Compound. Step two, right? And if Ethereum can seriously consider replacing the EVM with RISC-V, then I think even Compound should be open to replacing Compound with something more modern. We need to build a lean, easy-to-use open-source ZK governance tech stack. And also, I think we want to look to new projects as early implementers of some of these ideas. So, thank you.
Alice. Please, Alice. Can I have another microphone? Any chance? Yeah, guys, we're going to take a couple of questions. Ask a question. Neil.
Hey, thanks for the presentation. Sorry, I just don't get the last joke. Compound, is that what DAOs?
Yeah, look, Compound is like one of the very first DAOs, and they just did like a very good job of making like a simple coin voting thing, and so lots and lots of other projects are forced of it.
So try to be brief with this, but the CDIS hack during the week, the fact that they injected a new code to stop the hack essentially to stop the funds being moved. Do you think that that's a particularly good thing or a bad thing? And a sort of a second question to that, do you think it will make institutional funds think more about investing in DeFi?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, you're talking about Sui, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good for them because I think, they are very far from being decentralized and to the same degree that Ethereum and Bitcoin are. And I think, if you are going like less decentralized, then like you should just go all out and actually give your users the advantages of that instead of giving them a worst of both worlds, right? And so, it's. But like the situation just kind of shows like there's a very clear separation between like blockchains that are decentralized and blockchains that are not. Though I do think that even on top of that, right? Like you want a like any kind of reversion mechanism to like actually be credible, right? And like there have been situations where there have been hacks over something that, rollbacks over something that's like actually much more controversial, right? Like something like if like a sandwich exploiter gets sandwiched themselves and they like lose a huge amount of money, then actually like that's not a very sympathetic actor, and like really you should just let them burn. So. Like, you do want to, like, I think, if you're not going to be like, immutable, I think it's, like, it would also be good to, like, think more actively about, like, how some of those kinds of edge case decisions get made as well, right? But, and, like, that also applies to a lot of DeFi protocols, right? Because, like even if Ethereum is decentralized, a lot of like so-called DeFi protocols on top of it are not, right? And I think if you are not, then like thinking explicitly about when rollbacks will be approved is also going to be important.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the two-layer mechanism. It's very reminiscent of the original futarchy concept by Robin Hanson. Have you seen anybody like where you vote on beliefs and bet on outcomes, or is it?
Yes, yeah. So I know Robin Hanson's team themselves are actually working on a futarchy right now, right? And like futarchy definitely fits into this pattern perfectly, but things other than futarchy also do, right? So I mean, deep funding is one example, but also like even traditional corporations fit into this pattern, right? If you think of the shareholders as being a preference solicitation gadget, and then the decision-making gadget is the executive, like you can think of countries as fitting into this kind of model, right? So I think it's like, futarchy is like a great example of like taking that general idea and like being very explicit about it and optimizing both layers in the directions that make sense, but also like even outside of futarchy, I think it's like a good device for thinking about the right way to do these things.
Thank you for the presentation. So my name is Ivan from The question is, you were talking about API, but that should be used for review the criteria for this stuff. The API itself has to be trained, the model has to be tuned, has to be trained, and who should be in charge of it?
Yes, and the answer I think is it has, like no single person, it has to be an open ecosystem. And like, thank you for raising this, it's a very important point, right? Which is that I like oppose DAOs where you just have one single thing and you have like one single, like basically GPT with a prompt or fork of DeepSeek or whatever that you just feed decisions into, right? So if you look at how deep funding works, for example, right, basically you have an open market where anyone can submit like a vector of values for like how much funding different projects deserve. And the vectors are so large that AI is basically the only practical way of doing it, but it's like completely open-ended which AI you use, right? And then you choose between them based on like basically like how well they get sampled or how well they score on the questions